So it's the 27th of February 2020. I'm just setting up, preparing for some testing tomorrow, some real world testing, going over to Pulsate. They've invited me over. They say they finished their production at 2 tomorrow, so I can go and play with some conveyors. And the last couple of weeks, I've been kind of doing the productization of the adapter. So stuff that's not really necessarily needed, but it's going to make the end customer's life easier. But also along the way, and this is a good example, when I set up today, it makes my life easier. So I've been making sure time and date is recorded with a real-time clock, making sure the LEDs come on different colours depending on the initialization sequence of the box, making sure the shutdown and restart button works correctly, because that kind of powers on the Pi, and all that kind of stuff. Also been doing lots of administration, claiming back funds and stuff like that. Had a random email out of the blue with someone evaluating the multi-plug. So, and I knew that it was left in the state that a few bugs need to be fixed. So I've spent the last couple of days quickly putting them in and releasing that, and then sending off an email to say, go and try it. I don't know what they're using it for. It was out of the blue. But the other thing is I've got the Wi-Fi to work. So I can now connect to the adapter. It broadcasts itself as a access point. I can connect to it. I can configure it. Again, this is all nice things like where I used to work, called nice to haves. But it's all really, it's worth spending half a day to set all this stuff up. And also I'm making sure that I'm packaging it. So it's now it's a command you can just create from a blank system disk of the Raspberry. So now it all sets itself up. So in the future, again, when I come to manufacturing, I can just create some images quite quickly. I'm not manually typing in commands and stuff like that. So yeah, tomorrow is going to be the first real test. Up until this point, it's all been based upon test harnesses and dummies kind of thing. So it will be a quick pass or quick fail situation. That said, all the kind of it's a real nice time, because all the kind of modules I've just described and all the software and the hardware is all coming together, and it's a case of a checklist to say whether things work or not. Other things been happening in the background. I've triggered off the miniaturization of the actual adapter. It took me quite a long time to manufacture the first one, the prototype version. I don't like the look of it. It's a cube, and it's ugly. So that's not the reason of the miniaturization, but it was a good emotional push to get that done. As I said, the next version will have a real-time clock. It will also have a buzzer. So again, I can create some audible alarms. All the LEDs are surface mount, so there's no separate LED display on the front anymore. So essentially everything's going to be flattened into one box. The actual circuit board can be manufactured by the manufacturing company. Raspberry Pi is off the shelf. The enclosure, well, that's going to be manufactured by the enclosure people. So it's essentially going to be just putting loads of bits of modules into a box, screwing down the screws and sending it off. The other thing, again, in the realms of a nice to haves, but actually is very important, is to have things that can do the upgrades. If this stuff is running on site, then I need to be able to instruct people to do an upgrade. That was another thing that I got working, which is the Raspberry Pi 4 I'm able to connect to a host PC via this USB. That sounds quite simple, but actually, there's a lot of settings that had to be made. So now that's working. So now I have a situation where if a customer has a problem, they can connect the box into a host PC and press my software, and it upgrades to the latest and greatest. The email that came in randomly recently is a good example of trying to give instructions to someone remotely, and he's just emailed back saying it's now working. So, things are coming together. I see progress. I'm not sure whether people that I'm waiting for this see progress, but I'm definitely not. There's an internal reason I'm doing it for myself, and also the benefit is the customer will see these improvements and these benefits also. And I think that's actually a business lesson. If you're constantly working on stuff that's only customer driven, then the likelihood is you're always going to be late. If I'm making a software package that's going to create the deployment to be a one-click process, and that's helping me, then guess what? It's going to happen. It's going to help the end customer. So I think it's all been worth it. As I say, it's February now. The prototype version will not be shipped to the customer. It will be the next version, the miniaturized version. It's all pretty much the same hardware. So if the testing goes well tomorrow, then we're clicking go, and it's hopefully more of a turnkey operation after that point. So yeah, all positive, and it's getting this exciting time where all things are starting to come together. It reminds me of the Smart Factory Expo when I had a month to put together a few bits and pieces of software and the multi-plug and a bit of hardware, and it all came together and it just worked, and it was just like wow. And that's because it's been I thought ahead. Industry background definitely helps creating a startup that is going to scale, and it's not going to scale because from the startup point of view. It's going to scale because all the different modules of software and products and the wrappers around the products are all going to fit together and glue from day one, rather than being a firefighting situation where we've got a product that works, but now we have to somehow productize it and get it out to people, and then really you're just having to rework it. Now, the miniaturization was a rework. I kind of wished I thought of how to miniaturize it beforehand. That was just not enough exposure to what's already out there. And when I saw what's already out there, then I pretty much took ideas from the market. But actually, if you look at most of the history of hardware, normally it starts small, it gets big, and then it goes back to small again. The Raspberry Pi was a good example of that. If you look at some of the prototype boards, they were massive because they just wanted all the kind of test bit points and expanded bits and stuff like that. So I've got the diagrams of the new miniaturized version, and it looks really, really like hardcore and proper. Where this one is a bit more, there's lots of cables running around inside. It just doesn't look very professional. It looks like a prototype. The next version definitely looks like more of a final product. So that's my diary for today. If you have been, thanks for watching.